Hello, this is Max. A young boy accidentally discovers a robot with artificial intelligence, and they try to escape from pursuers. Don't forget to subscribe. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to the high-tech firm Time-Lapse, where Director Radek and his team of scientists are conducting an experiment with a non-functioning robot called the A.R.I. Radek, an impatient and dictatorial man, orders his team, led by Dr. Simon, to increase the electrical power being sent to the robot, despite her warnings about potential system failures and excessive power. Dr. Simon reluctantly accelerates the engine, but things do not go as planned. A wave of electrical signals flashes above the lab, causing a power surge that nearly destroys the facility. The A.R.I. appears to have suffered a short circuit and loses all power. Frustrated, Radek demands that his team get the lab operational again within 2 days and orders them to dispose of the robot in the trash. Meanwhile, we are taken to a suburban home where Noah Haley, a young teenager with a talent for gaming and tinkering with mechanical devices, is engrossed in playing video games. His only friend seems to be Bethany, a cyber friend and classmate with whom he plays online games. Noah often feels lonely when he's not gaming. Noah's father, Peter, interrupts his gaming session and invites him to a father-son night with pizza and movies. Noah reluctantly agrees to join his father. However, their plans change when Noah's elder brother, Max, returns home from work. Peter asks Max if he'd like to join them for the movie, but Max declines, mentioning his workload as he anticipates a promotion to a manager position the next day. Peter and Noah congratulate Max before he heads to his room. While watching the movie, Peter receives an unexpected call from his workplace, which is revealed to be Time-Lapse, where he works as a computer programmer. The situation at Time-Lapse is chaotic, and Peter is ordered to return to work that evening. He is understandably frustrated, as he already dedicates long hours to his job and is in the midst of a father-son night with Noah. After much insisting, Peter eventually agrees to return to work that evening. He suggests that Noah come along with him to the office so they can spend more time together. The father-son duo drives to Time-Lapse, and Peter checks in with the guard at the front desk. The guard insists on checking Noah's backpack as a protocol, which Noah willingly accepts. Peter wonders why Noah always carries his backpack around, and Noah explains that it contains his gaming and robotic equipment to avoid losing them. Once they are cleared by security, Peter takes Noah to his office and begins working on the code. During this time, Noah notices a suspicious cart covered with a tarp being pushed by 2 workers toward the storage room. Curious about what's on the cart, he follows the workers and manages to sneak into the storage room because the workers forgot to lock the door. Inside the room, Noah discovers a non-functioning robot on the cart, which he assumes is about to be discarded. Impulsively, he grabs the robot and puts it into his large backpack. Unbeknownst to Noah, this robot is not only functional but very human-like, and it is searching for its creator, Professor Eggy. None of the people at Time-Lapse were aware that the A.R.I. had been activated by microwaves, not regular electrical power. Upon returning home, Noah puts a piece of pizza into his microwave, and some bursts of energy from the microwave signal interact with A.R.I., who is still inside his backpack. This energy causes the robot to start activating. After dinner, Noah video chats with Bethany and tells her about his discovery. Bethany, who is also a tech enthusiast, can't wait to examine the robot in person. Noah asks her to keep the robot a secret, leading Bethany to assume that he may have stolen it. Noah insists that the robot was about to be discarded, proudly stating that one man's trash is another man's treasure. After chatting with his friend, he heads to bed, leaving A.R.I. on a table near an open window. The next morning, the rays of sunshine miraculously finish reactivating the robot, A.R.I. A.R.I. wakes up and begins scanning the surroundings, including examining Noah's features. This awakening also startles Noah, who is initially surprised but soon realizes that the robot is personable, friendly, and possesses unique skills and abilities. Noah and A.R.I. introduce themselves to each other, and A.R.I. mentions that he is looking for his creator named Professor Eggy. He also reveals that he was put to sleep for 5 years by Professor Eggy before Director Radek tried to reactivate him. A.R.I. suspects that his memory must have been scrambled during this period, as he can't remember the reason for his extended dormancy. However, he recalls Professor Eggy mentioning that it was done to keep him safe. Now, the mission is to get A.R.I.'s battery recharged so that he can recover his lost memories. Noah informs A.R.I. that he has to go to school, to which the robot pleads to come along, as he has always wanted to attend school. Noah reluctantly agrees and puts the robot in his backpack. Meanwhile, at Time Labs, the decision is made to scrap A.R.I and begin developing a new line of robots. However, the one missing component for the new robot is an operating system. The head of the company instructs Radek and the other team members to use the system from the previous A.R.I robot. At this moment, they finally realize that the robot is missing. Director Radek immediately dispatches a team of men to track down the robot, and the chase is on. At school, Noah and Bethany start to discover some of A.R.I extraordinary abilities during their social studies class. The robot is able to transmit information for an oral assignment across the room to Noah. Later, Noah learns that A.R.I can become invisible and has the power to stop flying objects in midair. Meanwhile, the people from Time Labs are able to track A.R.I down remotely. They discover that he is in the process of rebooting his system. However, the people from Time Labs cannot stop A.R.I remotely until they have physical control over him because he was designed to be entirely independent. Back at home, Noah and Bethany continue to learn more about their new intelligent friend, A.R.I. Suddenly, they hear a car pulling up nearby. Noah investigates and discovers that some strange men in suits, along with Dr. Simon and Radek, have arrived at their home. Realizing that these individuals are likely after A.R.I, Noah and Bethany sneak the robot out of the window and into the garage. Noah then drives his father's car in an attempt to escape from the Time Labs personnel. Radix becomes aware of the situation and orders his men to follow the teenagers. Just then, A.R.I unleashes his flying abilities, allowing the car to hover midair. This ingenious move helps them bypass Radix's men and save themselves temporarily. However, they face another significant problem. A.R.I batteries are running low, and every time he uses a special ability like turning invisible or flying, it drains his energy. A.R.I mentions that his father would know what to do in this situation. In the next scene, the teenagers discover that the Time Labs personnel are tracking them through the robot's tracking device. Bethany, the genius, comes up with a plan. She decides to upload her new 8-bit racing game called Flower Power and modify the game map to match the city. By spoofing A.R.I's uplink signal for every player, Radek and his men won't be able to track them. Fortunately, the plan works, and Dr. Simon notifies Radek that they have lost the robot's signal. On the other hand, Noah manages to land the car in a secure location. However, they discover that A.R.I only has 2 days of battery life left. In addition to fleeing from the Time Labs personnel, Noah and Bethany must figure out how to find Professor Reggie. Worse yet, the Time Labs people discover how to remotely put A.R.I into battle mode. Suddenly, he becomes a dark and violent version of himself, shooting at Noah and Bethany. Fearing for her life, Bethany hides behind the car, while Noah faces his new robotic friend and tries to calm him down. Since A.R.I is in combat mode, he doesn't recognize Noah and attacks him. Due to the destruction in the surrounding area, the Time Labs people are able to locate them. Just when A.R.I is about to harm Noah, the heroic teenager gives a compassionate speech about friendship, expressing how much he loves A.R.I. This speech helps A.R.I return to his original friendly form and realize what he had done when he was under combat mode. He then apologizes to both Noah and Bethany. Not long after, Radek and his men arrive at the scene in response. A.R.I utilizes the last of his battery power to create an invisible cloak around them, and thankfully, they manage to escape trouble for now. Later, when A.R.I shows some video logs from his memories to Noah and Bethany, they learn why he was put to sleep for 5 years. It turns out that Professor Reggie wanted to save him from the greedy Radek, but Radek had plans to turn A.R.I into a combat assistant, an insurgent soldier, or worse, a killing machine. While trying to save the robot, there was a blast with a concentrated source of electromagnetic particles that essentially scrambled both A.R.I and the professor's memories. Noah and Bethany also learned that today is actually A.R.I.'s birthday, the day he was activated for the first time by Professor Reggie. With this information, Noah has a new plan in mind. Hoping that they might find Professor Reggie on one of the video logs, they learn about the park where the professor would take A.R.I on his birthday every year. Therefore, Noah, Bethany, and A.R.I go to the park and wait for the professor to show up. The plan surprisingly works, and Professor Reggie unknowingly sits beside the teenagers, reminiscing about the olden days. Just then, Noah tells him the whole rescue story of A.R.I and how their little machine friend needs to charge his batteries before they run out. The professor tells them that he has actually found a way to supercharge A.R.I. but he needs the right electromagnetic energy for this. The whole rescue team drives to Max's restaurant, where they bind together two microwaves to supercharge A.R.I. Just when they are about to finish supercharging, Radek's men arrive at the scene and shut down the power. Sadly, A.R.I. is still in a vulnerable state, so he cannot use his super skills. Radek then snatches the little robot away and drives him off to time labs under his command. Dr. Simon prepares to replace A.R.I.'s willpower with combat protocol, which will eventually turn him into a deadly weapon. Meanwhile, Peter arrives at the restaurant and decides to help the rescue team, as he has an access card to time labs. Evading security, the group enters Peter's office room to modify Dr. Simon's code. Noah and Bethany sneak out to go to the robotics lab where A.R.I. is currently held captive. They manage to unplug him, but Radek unfortunately discovers them during the act. He activates another combat robot that starts attacking Noah and his friends. Seeing his friends get hurt, A.R.I. finally goes into ultra mode, merging himself with Noah. Together, they manage to deactivate the combat robot and save the rest of their friends and family. The building starts collapsing due to the ensuing fight. Noah, with the help of A.R.I., manages to hold the falling ceiling for a while until Bethany, Peter, and Professor Reggie safely escape outside. Once they're saved, Noah flies off with A.R.I. just before the building collapses. The last scene of the movie shows A.R.I. finally becoming free from Radek's men and exploring his new life with Noah at his school. Meanwhile, Professor Reggie is back at his work and continues his research on robotics, with the hope of creating more robots like A.R.I. in the future. The movie ends on a hopeful note, with A.R.I. and Noah forging a strong bond and looking forward to new adventures together. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.